Well, the defensive line's got to win the line of scrimmage.
They
did not do that against New England.
It is so frustrating because we have seen time and time again how many resources the Bills have put in to the defensive line. We'll start with this question from Robin.
So there's still a damn good defense.
I have zero problem with them bringing this guy in.
All right, welcome back to the Buffalo Plus channel presented by Connors and Ferris. Mike Catalana, I am Jenna Cottrell. Dan Fates with a veteran afternoon off. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let's get into it. Our You Ask, We Answer segment presented by Stellar Roofing, Windows, and Siding. Mike, a lot of good questions to get to today. I mean, I am biased because I feel like we always get good questions from our viewers. But let's start with this one from Sam the Sham 4684. After that ugly win, is there anything redeeming the Bills defense can do against these two non-playoff teams? Your thoughts?
Actually, that's a great question because you have to take whatever the game presents and get something positive. New England does not have a great offense. It was not a great day for the defense. But when I see Cam Lewis make a play, when I see, obviously always Taron Johnson, when I see Terrell Bernard deal with a mix of players around him, I see some of those positives. Was it a great game for the defense? No. I say they survived the bad start and then they made plays. So the question is there anything redeeming? Look, I don't like Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
But he can throw the ball.
Yeah.
He's got Devontae Adams. He's got Garrett Wilson when he decides to use them. That should be a very good offense. It's a legitimate offense. And yes, you can gain stuff by playing well against the Jets coming up on Sunday.
The Jets didn't punt once in their game. Their loss to the Rams. They only also scored one touchdown, but they are able to move the ball. So I think it will be, we talked about in the game against the Patriots for this Bills team, like a 16-play touchdown drive. And being able to kind of stop some of those long drives that takes time off the clock and where opponents are moving the ball down the field. So I think this will be Sunday an opportunity for the Bills defense, whoever is out there, to kind of get into a rhythm. And then you mentioned the slower start against the Patriots. I think there was some redeeming in the fact that the Bills, after that slow start, the defense kind of woke up, had the turnovers, made the score. So that is a positive. And to see guys like Cam Lewis make plays in big moments, you got to glean whatever positives you can from that situation.
Well, the defensive line's got to win the line of scrimmage.
They
did not do that against New England.
It is so frustrating because we have seen time and time again how many resources the Bills have put in to the defensive line. And to see players, I mean, like Von Miller, I think he had some moments, but just with how much money and the resume and the expectations of what you thought you could get out of him, to see the way he has played in the last 2 years, I think it is just so frustrating for fans.
Yeah. And, I'll see in the comments in our chat that, a lot of times people come up and they'll be like, this on McDermott, this on Babich and whatever. Look, that's on Bean.
Yeah.
I mean, Brandon Bean brought those guys in. And, I've seen all these rumors about next year trying to trade for Myles Garrett. Well, it would be great to get Myles Garrett. He's an incredible player. You made a big move, a big swing to get Von Miller, paid him a lot of money. In this case, it would cost you draft resources and to get that guy. Could they need that guy? Yeah. Because I said to you during the game, man, I want to just see somebody go make a play, knock the ball out of Drake May's hands and settle it. And they ended up making a play, Greg Rousseau, in a different way on the side of the field, but we don't see that. We saw Ed against Detroit be very impactful in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Then you see this game and you're like, okay. I mean, I just didn't see it. I didn't see them winning. And, Detroit scored later in the game. I thought that was more on the back seven. In this game, you're right. 16 plays. Like, come on, fellas, get off the field, make a play on the D line, get some pressure. So that's what I want to see a little bit more of, even against the Jets. Go make a play, get to Rodgers, get the ball out of his hands and force some turnovers.
All right, that brings us to our next question from @Alex_XOOL. Do you feel, though, even though we aren't looking the best we have on defense, Due to the injuries or lack of experience in spots within defensive scheme, is it better to have these depth players get meaningful snaps in these otherwise less meaningful games towards the end of the season with the division locked up to build their confidence towards playoffs if needed in a pinch?
I would say it's always good to have those guys get meaningful snaps.
When
Not
it doesn't matter.
Well, no, it does, because
No,
when
I'm
you need
kidding.
them, you need them. But I would much rather see the full defense on the field now getting ready for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Concerns me a little bit that, DeMar and Rapp, and I'm going to repeat it again, the best two safeties on the team right now.
Mhm.
Okay. So they aren't on the field.
Yeah.
That is impactful.
Yeah.
And Rasul Douglas is a hell of a player, and he's not on the field.
Yeah.
So getting those guys back and getting them ready for the playoffs, because we talk about this rest time, which could come, depending on what happens with the Chiefs. You know what's going to happen on Christmas Day. Don't let it ruin your day. It's going to be a close game. Steelers are going to have the lead. Chiefs are going to make a play. The refs are going to make a few plays, and then the game's going to be over, and they're going to clinch the 1 seed, right?
Yeah.
You can feel it.
Yeah.
But I want to see these guys on the field getting ready for the playoffs. And I know they need to be healthy. So, yes, it's great that, Cam Lewis and Cole Bishop and all these guys are getting time. But I want to see the number one defense get themselves ready for the playoffs.
Yeah. I think we've heard from Chris Long talk about how you just need one guy on the defensive side of the ball to be wrong to exploit it as the opposing offense. And so I think obviously it would be ideal to have those players that are starters back and be healthy and have the time to kind of continue that continuity and get back into the routine of things. But I understand this question of like, hey, these are the backup guys. Now they're getting meaningful snaps. I don't think it's a negative. I wish
No.
they didn't have to be out there, but I think in terms of them just having the experience on the field, like there's nothing like the actual in-game reps. And I think there's a lot for a lot of these younger guys to improve on. Cole Bishop, Kyer Elam, we talked about Balen Spector, like how much we saw Terrell Bernard kind of putting them in their place last game against the Patriots.
You mean physically putting them in their place too. That's what I want people to understand. It's like, there are so many things.
Here.
Yeah.
You go here.
And
yeah,
so,
not like ripping them a new one, just being like, no, you need to be here.
Yeah, when I see people will comment, I don't know what the backlash against DeMar stems from.
I don't know either.
The guy plays hard. He is a backup player who is starting for this team. That's the way I look at DeMar. He's tough. He makes tackles. He's not a great player. But I keep saying this. He's one of the two best safeties on the team right now. I'll keep repeating it.
Yeah.
And they're a better team right now when he's on the field. Maybe next year's Cole Bishop's year. But the issue is you got to be in the right spot. And I said it before this game. 2 big plays this team's given up in a passing game, both with Cole Bishop on the field. I'm not saying it's always his fault. We noticed in the beginning of the game, they're coming after him, looking for him. You got to be in the right spot in this defense. So is it helping him? Yes. I think all those snaps and the review of the tape and all those things, if needed. But this team is better with Damar Hamlin and obviously Taylor Rapp on the field than they are with Cole Bishop right now. So
yeah, I mean, that makes total sense to me, though.
I want this kid. There's another kid I would love to see get some snaps and get ready for the playoffs. He's 33 years old, and he's one of the great players this team has had. I want to see him on the field.
Do you think that MICAH Hyde will be elevated?
I would have
to. We talked about. I would have to imagine it would be this week.
I would have liked to have seen him elevated for the game Sunday.
Yeah,
and he wasn't. And I thought maybe there'd be that. We'll give him a few elevations because they can do it.
Yeah,
I don't think he's back for money. He's on the practice squad.
Yeah,
but I want to see him out there because I trust him. And I keep saying, you may not like it, but Sean McDermott trusts Damar Hamlin more than he trusts Cole Bishop. Otherwise, Cole Bishop would be playing.
It is abundantly clear.
Right. So I'm sure there's people in the comments telling me that I'm wrong, but I'm telling you what we see and certainly what Sean McDermott sees. And they are a different team when it's the backup safeties on the field.
Well, and I think it's fair to say, like, there are moments that Damar hasn't played up to the standard that we expected, but also he is the guy, him and Taylor Rapp are the best options on this team when they are healthy. Like, it's okay to, there are levels to this. Like, you can say, like, I think DeMar, and there's some plays that I wish he had back, but also realize that, like, Cole Bishop is just not at all on the same playing field. And it's all about trust. And obviously, the defensive coordinator, the defensive minded head coach have trust in DeMar. And that's why he was in the position that he was.
And if you
It's a
really
very interesting discourse around Cole Bishop. And I don't want to crap all over Cole Bishop because obviously the Bills drafted him for a reason. I think he has had some moments where you're like, oh, okay. But he is also a first-year player. And there have been moments where his eyes look like they get really big. And there are times where it's like, he wasn't in the right spot, or they've been able to expose him in certain moments. And so I get why it's got to be the guy that you trust, and that's DeMar.
In the Bills defense, there's so much put on the safeties.
Yeah.
If you got Terrell Bernard, who's very good with the media, good talker, we like all that stuff. But if you got him in his honest moment, like where he would say what he says to is probably within the team, he wants DeMar back out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would only be fair.
Yeah. He's already dealing with the linebackers in and out of the game.
And that so much of that does come down to Terrell Bernard being like, all right, I'm the guy that's putting everyone in position, and like some of these guys just don't know where to be.
We talked at the beginning of the year, both Janet and I thought, oh, Mike Edwards is there.
Yeah,
He's a veteran. He's like, never even sniffed the field, really.
No.
Nothing.
No.
And now you got the young kid. So you have a veteran who's been around and the young kid. I mean, what do you think like Sean McDermott's getting a kickback to have DeMar on the field?
Yeah.
No, he wants the best player. And it may be not good enough. That's why I've been hopeful that Micah ramps up, because we know who he has been in this league.
Yeah. I would like to think reasonable fans understand that why DeMar is on the field and why Cole Bishop up until this point hasn't been. And I think you see some of that against a team like the Patriots that's obviously not at all talented offensively. And then also what you see, I mean, the Jets have talent on offense, but we'll see. We'll see how everything goes going into it. All right, going into our next question, Michael Chisholm saying, Josh made a comment about not showing everything. Along that line, do you think the Bills are holding back some of the guys that are hurt, squeak by without them, and give them extra time to heal before the playoffs?
I think that's a really interesting question. Sean hinted at it.
Yeah.
How did he phrase it? He was like, we don't say to them, you don't say to the training staff, like, we're going to keep them out.
Save them for the playoffs.
But I do think if it's close, they're certainly not rushing Rasul or either safety back onto the field. And let's be honest, they were playing the Patriots, who don't have the weapons.
Yeah.
And I think they felt like they could get it done. They eventually did.
Yeah.
Tougher than expected, but they did. Are they holding back? I would say Josh referenced those things on offense. Hey, I'm sure there are things they've held back. They sure look like they weren't holding anything back in Detroit and LA.
Yeah.
When they were putting up 40. But I think they are defensively, and because the offense, pretty much everybody's out there, right?
Yeah. I mean, Kincaid was back, obviously. Keon.
They're all back.
Cooper.
Maybe they're playing it a little differently. That would make a lot of sense to me. When a team, I think the Patriots came at them with something a little different than they expected on defense.
Yeah.
Maybe they have some things they're working on to beat that type of coverage that they really didn't want to show in the game, and they got by. It's a little bit of a dangerous game.
Yeah.
But I would say if the 1 seed is at stake, like we go to the last week, that's like winning a playoff game.
Yeah.
It is winning a playoff game.
Yeah, essentially.
So, yeah, you might want to hold back, but like you want to win and get that spot, and moves you to the next round and you're home. Right now, I still think they're going to end up 2.
That's seemingly the case. They can't finish anywhere lower than 3.
Yeah. You'd have to hope that the Chiefs lose more games in the next week and a half than they've lost all season.
Yeah, which I don't expect. That leads into our next question. M. Shane 327. If KC wins on Wednesday, they have the 1 seed locked up, and the Bills need one more win to lock up the 2 seed. 2 questions. If the Chiefs lock up the number 1, do we see some players get rest to close out the year, or do they keep up the momentum going into the playoffs? And then the second is a matchup question. So let's start with, do you think they close out the year trying to rest some guys? Well, first of all, you can't rest everyone. Obviously, that's just how it works in the NFL. Could you see them resting Josh?
Yes. For the last game of the year, yes. I don't know. Does he have sometimes quarterbacks have like a starting streak plus You would have him active if you
Yeah.
needed to be.
Yeah.
Honestly, at that point, I am playing Mitch, give Mike White a few snaps, and I'm comfortable sitting him down for
Yeah.
that last game because you wouldn't have a bye. You're playing the next week.
Yes. Correct.
And the guy's got the hand, the other hand, the thing. Him is Josh. He gets beaten up a little bit.
Yeah.
And you don't want to see anything happen. Honestly, I would have practice squad guys. I just would for that last game. If that's the circumstance.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if it's any chance, obviously you're going to keep everybody out there because it's only the 1 week. I think the 1 seed teams are in a weird spot because if you clinched it, even if you're Kansas City, I mean, Mahomes has the knee and all, but you're taking ankle,
yeah,
whatever. He's healthy. I think that taking a couple of weeks off is a little weird for players because
they're 2 weeks is a lot.
But no, I would. If it's done.
Sorry, I'm just doing the Mahomes.
Oh, yes. He does have some weird
mannerisms
on the field. Anyhow, he's a great player. I know, Kansas City fans. I'm sure you're all watching.
Yeah.
I would, no question, if it's down to that, say they win Sunday against the Jets, after the Chiefs have won, and it's the 2 seed and they're done, you and I are going to be in Foxborough, but I think we're going to be watching, in that case, we're watching Mitch and Mike White get some snaps.
I would rather have Mike White out there. Excuse me. All right. What would be your preferred matchup in the wild card round out of the 2 most likely teams, Broncos and Chargers? We've talked about this a little bit. I just think that Chargers coming East Coast, they play in a dome, like the weather element would be a way bigger obstacle for them in my eyes. And Justin Herbert is a very is a very good player, but why don't you talk?
Yeah, I would say this. Both those teams are well coached. I'm not a Sean Payton fan, but the guy can coach. Harbaugh can coach. That's a pretty disciplined team. They run the ball. Like, they don't have great weapons, the Chargers. But you are right. That's a team that plays in that dome. Yeah, right.
I'm sorry. I have like a tickle in my throat.
Yeah, it was impactful when we were in the press box. It was 43 degrees. I would much rather see them probably play the Chargers in that case, but because Herbert doesn't really have. What did Herbert have? The one playoff game against Jacksonville when they blew the lead, big lead, and they lost the game. Bo Nix is great in the red zone.
Mm-hmm.
He's a tough kid. He has been way better than people thought he was going to be.
Absolutely.
And there's some teams sitting there going, shit, we missed on this guy. We could have picked him. And they've done a nice job with him. And they play in the cold. I mean, it's Denver.
Mile high.
So I don't know if it bothers them as much. But I guess those would be the teams. And Dan was talking last night about, when we did the podcast about the Bengals, it's Joe Burrow, it's Jamar Chase. They can just wreck a game for everybody.
Yeah.
That defense stinks, but that
still,
dude
they
can
go
play.
toe to toe.
And I don't think it's going to bother them to come into Buffalo.
No.
He's already done it in the playoffs
and they've won. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is Tooch question. What is the temperature on Bass? Good to see him hit one from 50, but in the playoffs with pressure and cold temperatures, that ball will be a rock.
Well, it was a rock last night, and he boomed that one through, which was good to see. His miss was so jarring in Detroit because it was such a short field goal, and he just pushed it. Honestly, that sounds weird, but that didn't bother me as much. I'm more bothered when I see guys missing 45-yarders, 47-yarders. He pushed that. He boomed the ball through last night. It was a nice kick.
Yeah.
I keep referencing the game on Sunday. I'm feeling a little better. His kickoffs were good. Like, that was not an issue. The ball was a rock because it was freezing cold.
Yeah.
And that's what it's going to be. It's actually supposed to be, at least tentatively, a little nicer Sunday.
40s,
Yeah, that's going to feel like balmy.
Yeah, spring.
But where am I? I think he's still a good kicker.
Mm-hmm.
Am I concerned when he lines up? Absolutely. For a while, you were like, good.
Yeah.
You're good. And he hasn't been that, but I think he's good. My confidence level on him is like,
yeah, I feel like
6.
we were like, panic meter was all the way up. And then now that he's made some kicks, it's still registering, but it's not panic. It's like, okay, I have more confidence in him when he goes out there. And then we'll see though. With the pressure ramped up, yeah. I mean, that mentally, obviously, I think he's struggled throughout the season at moments. So that is a concern, but he's kicked better in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. Look, they have issues on special teams, and
Yeah.
he's a lesser issue. I think Sam Martin's been pretty good. He had that blocked kick that we know about from a couple weeks
Rams
ago in the
game,
Rams game. He had one kind of lame kick last night, though. He ended up getting a good bounce, and they covered it well. But as a team, I mean, the special teams are not good.
No.
Smiley should be in trouble. I don't know what you do now, but I mean, hey, right off the opening bat, Sean's like, yes, people are talking about them kicking to start the game. Doesn't help when your kick coverage team gives up a long return, then your defense lets them walk down the field, and you find yourself down 7-0. So I said before, the Lions got the ball to start the game the week before, and before we knew it, the Bills were up 14-0 on the road. So it's about how you play, but this special teams unit is not great in general, impacted somewhat by all the injuries and the backups playing. We're talking about like Cam Lewis is a core 4 guy on special teams, and he's playing 70 snaps on defense because you needed him to.
Yeah.
So that doesn't help, but back to Bass.
1 to 10. 10 being, oh my God, I have no confidence.
6.5.
That's fair. I would go with a 5.
Okay. I'm giving him 6.5 because I think he'd make it. Now,
he used to be at like
9+.
Well, wait. Okay, hold on. 10 is okay. Let's do it this way. 10 is the utmost confidence. You're going 6.5 for that.
6.5.
I'll give him 6.
Yeah, I'm just saying is because the ball seems to be coming off his foot better.
Yeah.
That's why I said that one short miss in a dome was just like he just
it was weird.
Kicked it that way.
Yeah.
But big moment, big moment. That 6.5 is shaky.
That 6.5 is coming down.
Yeah.
Maybe a 4.
Yeah, because, it's a big moment.
Okay. All right. That'll do it for this episode of You Ask, We Answer, presented by Stellar Roofing, Windows, and Siding. We'll have plenty more coverage this week as the Bills facing the 4-11 New York Jets on Sunday in Orchard Park. For Mike Catalana and Dan Fates, who's not here, I'm Jenna Cottrell. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. My voice is just... We'll catch you next time on the Buffalo Plus channel, presented by Connors and Ferris. We'll start with this question from Robin.
So there's still a damn good defense.
I have zero problem with them bringing this guy in.